Well, it was a long time ago in another galaxy, and memory is not a very exact science. But if I was going back to the origins of shock treatment, I seem to recall that after Rocky Horror hit and had become something of a cult success, it was kind of like a lightning stroke, and everyone scattered, everyone kind of went in all directions.
It gained a cult following. At first, it was just a small group of people who went to see the movie over and over, and they started to participate to the film. And they dressed as the characters, they talked back to the screen, they carried props, and then they started acting out the movie in the aisles. And then the movie got a lot of attention, and it started spreading to other theaters and became an international phenomenon.
And it was really because of that that Fox were very keen to do something that they thought would be a sequel or a follow-on to Rocky Horror.
It all starts right here.
Richard O'Brien had already had some ideas about what that might be.
There was some discussion about whether this may or may not relate to the Rocky Horror show or the Rocky Horror Picture Show as it then became.
Hello.
The original was a straight sequel, you know. Everyone comes back to life and off we go.
The first story was that Frankenfurter comes to Denton and Janet is having his baby.
I hold the secret to life. For some reason, it wasn't that well received, and the director started working with Richard on the script, and that's how it just grew.
Out of that came the beginnings of what ended up as shock treatment.
I've just come to tell you how fabulous I am.
Richard and Jim had written a movie which was actually set in America, which we were going to shoot on location in America. And we did location scouting in a town called Denton, which was outside Dallas.
So I thought, oh, yippee, we're off to America.
The thought was to shoot the whole thing there. And then a strike was called by the American actors. And effectively, the film was cancelled because no films could go ahead.
And it became not possible to film in the States during that time. And because everybody involved in the film was only available for certain amounts of time, the alternative was to shoot it in a studio in England, reinventing it, and a number of people came in on that reinvention, including the designer Brian Thompson, in suggesting that it all be shot in a studio and that the world of Foley Flavors became the world of television, and therefore all of the individual worlds inside that became individual television programs, Denton Vale, Marriage Maze, etc., etc., etc.
It was a stylized concept to make a very original musical movie. The whole reconception of the movie was setting it in a TV studio, in a game show that reflected true life in Denton. And therefore, every element of it was done in this stylized way. All the sets became TV sets within this huge game show. It was a major reconception, but that made it possible to make it.
Shock treatment is really interesting. Rocky is kind of straightforward as far as its plot's concerned, but shock treatment is a little more intricate because it really delves into the lives of Brad and Janet and their shaky marriage.
Isn't that Brad and Janet Major sitting in the audience? Huh? What an ideal couple they are. You know, more than anyone else in Denton, they represent the old values.
Brad and Janet enter into a world of television and into game shows, and they're manipulated.
Yo!
That's us, Brad.
Come on, what's cooking up there? Come on down, you guys. Let's feel you.
I do have to admit this, that Barry Humphries and I were in the dressing room, and Barry Humphries turned to me and he said, Pat, yeah. He said, do you know what this is about? No, I replied, and got on with my job. And you see, and he's a bright guy.
It was a mental hospital, which is kind of the shock treatment concept. It was a device, really. The hospital was a place where the evil protagonist wanted to get rid of Brad Majors so he could pursue Janet.
It is not an insane asylum. Just because at the end everyone's running around in straitjackets doesn't mean they're all mad. I mean, that's just a costume.
Jim Sharman, as a director, is pretty organised. I mean, he knows what he's going for.
One of the great talents of Jim Sharman as a director is that he actually makes everybody contribute absolutely everything they've got, from every department, from every cast member.
Jim Sharman is a very interesting guy and a very interesting director, a very quiet, soft-spoken Australian guy that's mad as a hatter.
The thing I like the most is that you felt totally free to do anything innovative.
There's a scene in the madhouse when, you know, I'm in, you know, the straitjacket and Richard comes in and they all do a little dance around and Richard kept kissing me on the forehead and I thought, what are you doing? I mean, what does that mean? He says, I don't know what it means. I'm just having fun. I said, oh, okay, that's it. So we're not like sticking to any really hard character situational things. We just kind of go crazy for every number.
Bert's done it again. Another rocky marriage is headed for intensive care.
The subject is committed.
Well, I think that there was a lot of close collaboration with both Brian Thompson, the set designer, Sue Blaine, the costume designer, and Mike Malloy, who shot it.
Oh, basically, shooting style was really a comic strip. It was like comic art, very colour-saturated, helped out enormously by Brian Thompson, who did wonderful sets. I mean, you know, cameraman, unless the cameraman's got good sets to work with, well, then he's got nothing. And he's really up against it. But Brian was wonderful, and the sets looked great. I mean, they were so bizarre.
It's got something of that kind of really graphic quality and that really punchy colour with kind of block background. And also looking a lot at, you know, not necessarily just filmic connections, but art connections and other forms of visual stimuli.
Brian has a kind of flamboyancy in his design, which is rather wonderful.
He really is a smart man. He really understands pop culture. He understands the whole concept of creating a set.
I remember him doing some really interesting models of all the sets that really established exactly what they would be, both in terms of design and architecture as well. He brought this kind of high camp, almost over-the-top design to it, but it was quite wonderful. It was just very appropriate. I mean, he and Sue Blaine have worked a lot together before, and they're both very upfront in their visualization of things.
I was working very closely, obviously, with Brian Thompson, and I was able to see a lot of the artwork he was coming up with up front of my costume designs. So that was great to be able to complement what he was doing.
Sue Blaine as a costume designer is brilliant.
She got the look of Rocky and she got the look of Shock Treatment.
People love her. They love her because she designed costumes for Rocky Horror that people love those costumes.
She captures a style of a period that is non-specific, very colourful, quite brave in terms of what she's doing. I mean, it's very upfront, her designs, but they give you an idea of the character very quickly, which is very, very clever.
Oh, the other marvellous thing about costume is that Sue Blaine and Brian Thompson did take a trip to Texas.
Brian Thompson and I went on a really quite a fantastic trip, actually, around the Midwest. He was looking for potential locations, and I was looking for costume reference. And it was the first time I'd ever been anywhere in the Midwest. And it was just the two of us in a hired car, and we had such a ball. It was a fantastic trip.
And she bought went to all the thrift shops to buy all the clothes for the audience. So they're all in actual Texan thrift shop clothes.
And everything was colour-coded, so you'd have the whole, you know, 3 rails of red trouser suits or orange, or it was fantastic. And I realised then that that was the way to do the audience in Shock Treatment, was simply to buy the whole lot, crates and crates and crates of it, from thrift shops in the States. And that was a fantastic sort of integral part of the design, costume-wise, for Shock Treatment. It was just that cartoonness of the audience.
Shock treatment, well, you know, here we're talking about 81, 82, years before The Real World and Big Brother and Survivor and American Idol. And it became, you know, something that people can look back and say, gee, that was really ahead of its time.
We were many, many decades, you know, ahead of reality television in predicting it.
There's no question that what shock treatment was lampooning in 1980 is now regular primetime TV. I think it was so far ahead of its years as an idea that I don't think anybody really knew what it was getting at.
In that way, shock treatment was pretty far out. I mean, Richard was onto something there. You know, just turn the camera on the people and you're going to make them crazy, and you're going to make them want to be famous, and you're going to make them want to be a bigger star than the other family member. I mean, if you're a moral person and somebody comes in and says, you can be on television tonight if you do this, this, and this, which normally would seem an immoral or bad thing for you to do. How many of us would say, sure, man, to be on TV, hell, I'll throw all that morality and all my personal beliefs out the window, because, you know, this is America. If you ain't on TV, you don't really quite exist, do you?
I've got a lot going for me, you know. I'm going places. I'm gonna be someone. I'm gonna win my way into the lives and hearts of the people, even if I have to kill to do it. I'll make the pathetic little crones love me.
It's a completely new concept, and as Michael White said, it's not the prequel, it's not the sequel, it's the equal.
A lot of people have resented that, I have to be honest with you, because it really is not an equal. I mean, the original, in the eyes of a lot of people, will always be the standard bearer. It will always be the best, but shock treatment does stand on its own, and it does have its own equality. And so from that point of view, calling it not a sequel but an equal does make sense.
If you look at it artistically, I think it's an equal, not a sequel. I think the atmosphere, sensibility of it is very much in keeping, and I like the fact that it is not a sequel.
Well, I don't think there is ever, has been, will be, or can be a sequel to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I think it's totally self-contained. I think this operates in the same realm because Richard O'Brien operates in the same realm, but I think it's a very different film.
It was hoped that shock treatment would repeat the success of Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I think in hindsight that what you realize is that you can't create a cult. Cults happen organically. An audience finds a movie, embraces it, and makes it into a cult.
When I first saw it, before kind of the world had become so conservative and reality television had taken over and everybody thought they were a celebrity, it seemed like a rather savage satire. Perhaps too savage, perhaps too cold, perhaps too unsexy to really find a big audience. But then when I saw it more recently, it suddenly seemed almost warm in comparison to the world that we actually live in, because in a funny kind of a way, we now live in the world of the shock treatment predicted, frightening as it may seem.
This is Janet. She's a phenomenon.
I think it would be extraordinary to see what a contemporary audience would make of shock treatment. They may think it's only just been made.
It's really been very sort of sub-cult for a long, long time, and people have never quite appreciated really how brilliant it is.
Well, I hope that there will always be films like these that slip through the cracks, get taken up by the buffs, and all strengths to their arm.
We're going to package and sell some mental health to the nation with my dream of the girl next door.